So here is what I want to share about Avi. First of all, I met Avi the first time I've ever actually heard him was actually at a 25th year anniversary celebration for Chabad of Binghamton, which is my in-laws Chabad Center in upstate New York for college students. And Avi was really, he wasn't even the highlighted event. He was there and they said, "Hey, Avi, please do something for us." I think it was literally a 5-minute little intro before some of the honorees spoke. But one of the things that he did was he embarrassed my brother-in-law, which I thought was great. He spoke. The joke is he wasn't even embarrassing him, but my brother-in-law took it that way. It was really he was just sharing a memory of when he was at the Chabad in Binghamton. My brother-in-law was a young kid then, maybe 6 years old or 5 years old. He had a new brand new white shirt, and Avi has this memory of him being warned to keep it clean, and he spilled all the grape juice all over his
Yeah, he
shirt.
basically his mother had said very sternly, "Listen, watch it. You're holding a cup of grape juice. No monkeying around. Be very careful how you hold this." And he's like, "I got it, no problem." And all of a sudden he goes, "Hachoo!" and he sneezes, and it's just all over his shirt. We all just cracked up laughing, and it was just her response of how understanding she was about it, which stuck in my head. So didn't get.
So that's the story. But I remember then how my brother-in-law, who had just started being a rabbi at that Chabad house, like, that's not the memory he wanted people to know of the new rabbi there. But Avi is persistent. I listened to him recently doing something with Chabad of Binghamton, and he shared the story again. I'm glad. So just putting that out there.
Well, I have
But
to bring it up for those who don't know Levi. Levi Sloan.
they don't know him. No one here knows him. They know my sister-in-law, my mother-in-law. No one really met him. But I'll share a little bit about Avi just so you have that. And I'm sure Avi will share more about himself. Avi is a stand-up comedian. He's also impersonated many characters, different voices. He travels the world. If you were paying attention earlier when we were just schmoozing, just listening to where he was right before Purim and on Purim, he's been all around town. And he was born in Israel, pretty much went to college in New York, now living in Los Angeles. Here's just some of his the things that he's been recognized for. He's been on the stand-up comedy on CBS's Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson, Comedy Central's Premium Blend and Make Me Laugh, NBC's Friday Night. He has different acting credits, including Dave's World on CBS, Boston Common on NBC, uh, Andytown, USA, Comedy Central, and he's been around town doing shows all around town. He's been on radio stations. I'm going to let him fill in some of the blanks, but as he mentioned earlier, he's been in some commercials as well for Mercedes, LA Cellular, Miller Lite. You can find for Starbucks, Net Zero. And you can find more of this on his website, which is aviliberman.com. It's spelled Liberman. And I'm going to hand over the spotlight to Avi. You can, of course, share more. One of the things that I've found, which is really nice that he does, is a comedy tour every year in Israel, which is a fundraiser. It's called Comedy for Kobe, which I'm sure he'll share about as well. But I am going to let Avi sort of run with his own show, if you want to call it that. I will jump in with questions I think will help in this instance. And again, if you want to ask any questions, feel free to jump in as well once he pauses.
Yes, so feel free. Yes, I got to say, on the heels of what Rabbi Levi said, it's some people think, oh, it must be great being a comedian. It's a fun job. It's true, but when you are a comedian, you can get into some trouble because of our big mouths. And just recently, this happened to me here in Los Angeles. I forgive the ignorance, but do you guys in Arizona, do you have carpool lanes there? I know not every state has them.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so we have them in Los Angeles too. Now it's amazing now there's no traffic. Like we can go out now because everyone's not going to work. But normally, obviously the carpool lanes, I'm usually driving by myself, and I will admit sometimes I cheat. I will sometimes use them, usually just to get around somebody. And of course, the last time I did this, I get caught and I get pulled over by the policeman. And this is where being a smart aleck comedian, like I said, does not come in handy. Pulls me over, walks right up to my door, and goes, you have to have more than one person in the vehicle to use this lane. And I said, well, with all due respect, officer, you didn't check the trunk. And he didn't find that funny, like at all, like not even close. So it's not all peachy keen when you're a comedian. You can get in trouble sometimes. But yes, I have to say though, and I got to give Rabbi Levi a lot of credit because as he mentioned, I do a lot of shows all over the country, all over the world. And invariably, if it's for a Jewish audience and it's a rabbi, it is always preceded by what I like to call the phone call. And to Rabbi Levi's credit, he did not give me the phone call. And the phone call is always the same. It's always, hi, Avi, listen, this is the rabbi. This is a Jewish audience. We don't want this to be anything inappropriate. So if you could avoid any certain topics, drugs, things like that. I'm like, yeah, I don't really talk about that. Okay, good. Also, if you could avoid, talking about chairs. Women often sit in chairs, that part of the body. I don't know if it's appropriate, but okay, no chair talk, Rabbi. Also, if you could avoid talking about paper or paper products, inappropriate material, sometimes printed on paper, that might lead to mixed dancing. I don't want that to happen. They'd be like, all right, fine. And usually I'll just have to interrupt. I'll be like, Rabbi, what do you want me to talk about? If you could do 20 minutes about tefillin, I think everybody would really enjoy it. Just like, all right, I get it. But I understand it. I understand the concern because I myself, it's like the rabbi, I'm sure, and like many other people, I'm not sure that, educational backgrounds, but I went to an Orthodox day school myself. I grew up in Houston, Texas, with the Lazaroffs, Rabbi Lazaroff, and I went to the only Orthodox day school in Houston, Texas. And it's weird for you now because as Rabbi Levy mentioned, I'm in Los Angeles, and there's such a large Jewish community here. When they have, comes to extracurricular activities for the schools, because they try to make it normal. They have their sports teams. They actually have a yeshiva day school basketball league, right? They have their own league, which I personally don't think is morally or ethically correct because it instills these kids with a false sense of athletic ability. It's true. I have to listen to these moms, like, my son's team is really good. I'm like, really? Who did they beat? Other Jews? Oh, I'm very impressed. I feel like telling him, play the Goyim, lady. It's going to be a rude wake-up call for your son because like in Houston, one school, like I said, we had to play the Gentiles. And let me tell you, few things are more intimidating than a bunch of 5'2" Jewish kids walking out onto the court. Boy, that struck fear into the heart of our opponents. We'd walk out there, even they couldn't believe it. They'd be like, do you guys have a center? Maybe you didn't see Herschel, 5'6", back up Goliath, right? And we would get slaughtered. We get creamed. And if you go to most Jewish day schools, even today, the one guaranteed non-Jewish member of the staff will be the physical education teacher and the coaches. There's no question those guys. So, and we had to explain to him because he would yell at us and we would try to tell him like, look, coach, we're Jews. We don't run really fast or jump super high. You're just going to have to accept it. And he would scream at us, but he wouldn't yell anything helpful. He would just yell. He'd just be up there, score, stop that guy, stop. Even if we'd ask him like, how, coach, what do you want us to do? He would just give us some like vague general answer, like, we're going to tighten up, we're going to clamp down, we're going to do it. Hands in, team on 3, which is not instruction. And this is another weird thing, which I've noticed over the years. There has been sort of a drift to the right in terms of like the Orthodox day school here. There's competition as to who's the most religious, right? So we, and I'm not making this up, in my day, we had cheerleaders at an Orthodox Jewish day school. You would never find that today, ever. And we had, this is true. And my friends went to public school. They would ask me, they'd say, hey, Avi, are your cheerleaders pretty? And I would say, honestly, I don't know. I've never seen them before. They cheer from behind a mechitza. So I really couldn't tell you. I have absolutely no clue. So it's, but I totally understand. And, but I do enjoy being in such a Jewish neighborhood. It does make the holidays more fun. And I love our holidays. Are we fans of our Jewish holidays?
I think so.
Yes, we enjoy. Rabbi, I'm just curious, what are the favorites in your community? Which ones do they seem to enjoy the most?
That is a good question. We'll have to get someone over here to speak up. I mean, I think that depends if you have to work in the kitchen. It makes some holidays a little bit less of interest.
That's right.
So I can ask for Passover, you might not like it.
Yeah, was Passover for you guys easier or harder this year? Because you couldn't really have guests, right? I'm sure some of the women were, oh, thank God. You probably appreciated it, right? Yes, I see a few people nodding there. Passover for me is probably one of the most interesting ones for me. Passover, this is amazing. It's such a big deal, right? And you can check with the rabbi on this, if I'm not mistaken. You are not supposed to eat matzah, they say, the entire month leading up to Passover, right? Because the rabbis say you're supposed to enjoy the matzah at the Seder for the first time, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. I'd like to focus on the word enjoy.
It's a custom. Put that out there.
Yeah. Has anyone out there ever walked into someone's home? You know what I'd really enjoy right now? Do you have a flat, tasteless cracker that'll constipate me for about, 16, 17 hours? Oh, we have some matzah. Oh, that would be perfect. Oh, wait a minute. You know what I just realized? It's Pesach in 28 days. I don't want to ruin the enjoyment that I'm going to be feeling when I finally eat it there for the first time. Wouldn't be any fun, right? To me, that's the equivalent of going to your doctor and him telling you, Mike, you need a colonoscopy. I'm going to schedule one in about 4 weeks. Now, in between now and then, I don't want you getting other colonoscopies to ruin the enjoyment that you're going to be feeling when I finally administer one myself. Total buzzkill that would happen. So it's amazing because I think the rabbis. I've realized this looking at our holidays, right? Because the rabbis basically over the centuries have constructed like what Judaism should be, and 99 times out of 100 they're right. But I think they have a little fun at our expense. Let's be honest, right? Because rabbis' jobs in Judaism, Rabbi Levi, if I'm not mistaken, is to make Judaism as humanly difficult as possible, right? That's general. That's the overlying thing. Because I realize because I look at Passover, right? How many people here hosted a Seder? Just applaud there. I know I can't hear you, but I can see. Applaud if you hosted a lot of yes. So it's what time did people's Seders finish? Can they type that in, Rabbi Levi? I'm just curious.
Yeah, and Avi, you can also. Do you see the gallery view?
Yes, I have the gallery view. I have speaker view.
No, well, do you do gallery view? I have it on.
Okay, I've got the gallery view. Yes, so I have it now.
And I made you a co-host. If you see someone waving a lot, you can unmute them and ask them a question. So if you look at participants.
Well, it's just in general. If someone can even type to you, who finished the latest? What time did you guys? Anybody finish after 11 p.m.? No, nobody.
No nods over here.
Yeah, because in my community, there's a big contest, right? Like whoever finishes later is more holy. That's kind of the rule, It's 11, 12, 1:30. You know what I do? On a normal year, I'll come into synagogue the following morning. I go, yeah, we haven't even eaten yet. How about them apples? That's how religious we are. It becomes like a big contest. Anyway, but it could be shorter. When I look at it, it could be just you go in there, right? We'll say the blessing over the wine, right? We'll do Kiddush. We'll tell the story of the Exodus, right? Fine. Eat, Birkat Hamazon, grace after meals, and see you later. But I just picture the rabbis getting in there. You know what? Instead of the story of the Exodus, why don't we drag this out as long as possible? Why don't we do all of Jewish history? All of it, all right? And let's focus on the negative. Negative, negative, negative. Get the Romans in there. Get Esau in there. Get whatever's bad news, throw that in there. All right, look, we got to let them eat. We'll let them eat. And just when they think they're out of there, after the grace after meal, put Hallel in for no reason whatsoever. Put that in there. Oh, and what's that song that takes 45 minutes? Who knows one? I know one. Who knows two? I know two. Put that in there. All right, we'll wrap it up with a nursery rhyme for no reason whatsoever, and we'll call it a night. I just don't get it. And by the way, there is a number. Let's see if anybody can type this in. This is my trivia to the audience. That appears very frequently during the Passover Seder. Anybody know what it is? We see a number very often there that we don't see in other places. Very, very good. I think it was Herbert Spivak. But yes,
yeah.
4.
What's that number? I unmuted him.
That's okay. Herbert, what are the 4 things we have? There's a bunch of them.
4 wines.
Right.
Questions.
Very good.
4 sons.
Right. Who is her? I only see Herbert. What's your lovely wife's name? I'm assuming that's your wife.
Ethel.
Ethel?
Yeah.
Ethel, let's see. Who are the 4 sons? Or Ethel, can you tell me who they are?
Wait a minute. A wise son, the
right. Sleepy, Sneezy, Dopey. No, you know who they are. No, who are they?
The wise son.
Right.
The son that can't answer, can't even ask.
Right, doesn't know how to ask. 2 more.
I don't know. I can't remember.
Want to help? We know between all of us, right? So you have wise. So somebody mouthed it there. Yeah, wicked.
Wise, wicked, the one who didn't know how to ask.
And simple. Right, we got it. Simple. Right, very good. Esbeck, whoever that is. Yes. So we have wise, wicked,
Sharon, thank you.
Doesn't know how to ask, right? I think that should be updated.
Simple.
Yes, simple. I think that should be updated for modern parents, right? Instead of like wise, wicked, simple, doesn't know how to ask, have gifted, behaviorally challenged, special ed, and Asperger's. Doesn't make more sense? And that way parents would understand, right? So yeah. I think here's the thing. I actually had a woman once. She was very upset, right? That she got in my face. She's like, why is it 4 sons? Why not 4 daughters? Why can't it be 4 daughters? Which I think is a fair query. That's a fair question. But I think that would change the dynamic of the questions being asked, right? Instead of like, why is this night different from all other nights? It would be like, why do you hate me? Why do you hate my friends? Why do you think I'm fat? All right, change it back. I can't do it this time. The amazing thing about Passover is, here's the other thing. As much of the rules as they have beforehand, just when you think it's over, it's not over. Passover is the holiday that never ends. Let's ask Rabbi Levi, what's tomorrow? What is tomorrow?
So tomorrow is called Passover the 2nd.
That's correct. I try to make this educational as well, right? Rabbi, do you want to explain what it's called? Pesach Sheni, the 2nd Passover. Do you want to explain what that is?
Actually, I'm going to explain it I think the best way possible is that the short answer is you get second chances in Judaism. So the first year they did the Passover sacrifice with the tabernacle, there were people who could not bring the sacrifice because they were, I'm going to say, ritually impure. They had come into contact with Aaron's 2 sons who needed to be buried. and you have to be in a state of ritual purity to bring the Passover sacrifice. They said, why is it not fair? Why did Jesus out on this minute? So God told him, you're right. You can do it again a month later. So let's look at the positive side of this one, which is that God says, sometimes you mess up, you can try again. That is Pesach Sheni, the second Passover.
Right, very. This is how you guys know you have a good rabbi. He knows all this stuff, right? So let me ask the rabbi a question though. Do we know the names of the people that came forward to Moses and said, "Oh, this isn't fair. We want to participate also"? Right? Do we know their names?
That is, well, there's commentaries on
right,
that.
But we don't officially. Do you know why we don't know those people's names? Because to
That's
me, those were the nerds and dorks of that era that said, we didn't get, those are the same people who are like, you forgot to give us homework. I'm like, well, you shut up. You got out of it. You got out of having to go to the equivalent of synagogue back then. If that was me, this is why I'm a bad example. I would have been looking for reasons to be impure. I would have been like, guys, unbelievable. Mike the leper, I accidentally high-fived him on the way back into the camp. So apparently that makes me ritually impure. I can't attend the service. I'd find anything. I'd be like, oh, guys, unbelievable. That dead pigeon carcass on the side of the road? I accidentally picked it up and rubbed it all over myself. So apparently I'm impure. I touched a dead animal. So, but you know what? Tell Aaron hi, enjoy the 5-hour service, and I'll see you guys later. So that's why I would not have been a good person to do the Passover training. Oh, you got out of it. Enjoy it. So and actually it is amazing that we do have some fun holidays. I'd say Passover's a tough one. We do have fun holidays. I think we actually had, out of all the holidays that we have numerous ones. I think we only have one that is cooler than anything that exists in the Gentile world. Anybody, which one would you say, Rabbi? The one that we have is most fun.
Hanukkah, Purim?
Yeah, Purim. I think it's Purim, right? Hey, here's what have you guys ever tried explaining our holidays to people that aren't Jewish? You ever tried doing that, right? Some of them are fairly simple, some not so much. I find you have to compare it to things that they have, right? Like, for example, how would you, Purim I find is an easy one. What would you say Purim is? Purim is the what?
The equivalent of Halloween.
Right, Halloween and St. Patrick's Day, kind of a combination of because you're supposed to get drunk, right? That's the rule, right? That's the only holiday we have, I think, that's cooler than anything that exists in the Gentile world. It's the only holiday you can walk out of your house with a bottle of Jack Daniels in one hand, vodka in the other. Your neighbor can look at you. Where are you going? Synagogue. Have fun in church, loser, right? That's a fun one. I found out some of the holidays we have aren't so easy to explain. Like what's the most important holiday we have in our calendar is?
Yom Kippur.
Right, Yom Kippur, right. How would you explain Yom Kippur, Rabbi, to someone that isn't Jewish? That's not so easy. The Catholics get it a little bit, but how would you explain it? Not so simple.
Absolved of your sins.
Right, but they don't really have anything like that, right?
They have it every day. Hail Mary, 2 Hail Marys.
Right, the Catholics get it, right? It's like confession, but all day. That's kind of how I explain it. It's interesting with Yom Kippur. It's amazing. Are you guys good fasters out there? You guys fast okay? Some, yeah, I see some head shaking, some no. I realize when it comes to our fast days, I'll get back to Yom Kippur in a second, because we have, in Judaism, we have major fast days, right? Really two big ones, right? Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av, right? And then we have other fast days that they're there, but they would be considered minor, right? Fast days, right? Like, for example, some Gadai, that's it. Some of the fast of Esther is not as observed, even here's what I found though, at least because I live in the modern Orthodox community, right? Here's what I realized. This is called, in the modern Orthodox community, every fast day that's minor begins the same way. With a phone call to your buddy that goes like this. Yeah, hey, it's me. Are you doing this one? Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm really on the fence. You know what? Call Mike, see if he's doing it. Because he's more religious than both of us. If he's not doing it, I'm not doing it. No, don't call Steve. Don't, because he's a Baal Tshuva and they're all crazy. Do not call him into it. So whatever. Anyway, but yeah, Yom Kippur, it's obviously most of us do. Here's what I found about Yom Kippur. Everyone becomes a biology major right before the fast starts on how to beat it. They all have these crazy ideas, oh, you want to drink 7 gallons of water for 3 weeks leading up to the fast. And then you want to, and every idea is stupider than the next. Crush up 15 Advil and sprinkle that on a kale salad. Eat that 4 hours before. I'm like, look, it's going to be awful. Just deal with it, right? It's 24 hours. You guys can handle it. A friend of mine actually recently, this is interesting. She, not Jewish, right? Her husband is Jewish. She converted, who am I to judge, but not in the most stringent of fashions. I think she did it in like a week. That's, just they wanted me to be Jewish or whatever. So I told her, I saw her recently and I wished her Shana Tova right before she converted. She said Shana Tova back. And I said, oh, this is going to be the first time in your life where you're going to be fasting. She goes, I'm not doing that. I go, what the hell are you talking about? She's like, well, that doesn't speak to me. I'm like, it doesn't speak to anyone. I go, what is that? Like, that's not an excuse. I go, that's not how Judaism works. You don't get to do the fun stuff, leave out the hard stuff. Like, That's like the equivalent of me going into a church on Christmas Day and going, yeah, I'd like some gifts today. Yeah, I understand. Oh wait, I have to give them also. Yeah, that doesn't speak to me. I'd rather just receive if we can. It's it doesn't work that way. So you got to do the tough stuff in Judaism. Actually, the next holiday we have coming up is an interesting one. Shavuos, right, Rabbi Levi? Are we fans of Shavuos?
Yep. Cheesecake.
Now, Shavuos is interesting because on paper, Shavuos is almost just like a regular Shabbat, like a regular Sabbath. Rabbi Levi, what are the two big things we do in Shavuos?
Eat cheesecake and
Where
stay
we
up
do
all
the
night.
dairy and stay up all night and learn. Right now, staying up all night and learning, is that a rule?
No, Rabbi.
Yeah, see, that's why you guys have a good rabbi. He knows the deal, right? It's not. But again, Shavuot, it's too easy. So I just picture the rabbis getting together a couple thousand years ago. Let's see, we have this holiday Shavuot. It's fairly simple. How can we screw this up? Anybody got anything? What if we make them stay up really late and learn? That's pretty annoying. I like that. What do you mean, to like midnight? The whole night, all night, right? Because that'll get everybody in a bad mood. Their body clocks will be off. I like it. Put it on paper, spread it around. If they're not really religious, if they don't do it, fantastic. Works out great for me. So it's just I just don't get it. Some of the holidays we have to be honest, right? It's because we do have some cultural appropriation, right? Like Hanukkah. Hanukkah's a fun one, right? Do you guys give gifts to the family? We still do that on Hanukkah?
Of course.
Yes, I see heads nodding.
Their heads.
Right, Rabbi Levi, where does that the ancient tradition of giving gifts on Hanukkah come from?
Came from giving money.
Right, from money, but where else? Where have we?
Well, I know what you're heading at.
We have to be honest. Let's be honest.
The Jewish method was about giving gelts, money.
Right, but where did we
our society stole it from others.
Yes, we stole it from Christmas. Let's be honest. It's just, a couple hundred years ago, some Jewish kid got upset that his neighbor was getting some gifts, and he went, "This isn't fair." And so that's when, and we tried to make it better, right? We tried to go, "Oh, well, we get 8 gifts and they get 1, right?" But have you seen the gifts that they're getting, right? We don't do this as well, where it's like, what are we getting? They're getting like, laptops, boats, apartment buildings. What are we getting? Oh, a pair of pants, some chocolate coins. I'm just like, it's not as good. Just let the goyim have this. They do it way better than we do. But let's be honest, they do it to us. It's only fair, right? Thanksgiving, right? Does anybody know where the holiday Thanksgiving comes from? Do you guys know this? Anybody know where they got it?
I'm happy you're not asking the rabbi on that one.
It's what?
I'm glad you're leaving the Jewish questions for the rabbi, Thanksgiving for others.
Yeah, most people don't know this. This is
Arlene. Arlene's got her mic on.
Okay, Arlene, where does the holiday of Thanksgiving come from? I can't see it.
Start with the pilgrims saying thanks for the crops and whatever.
That's correct. Where did they get there? But they needed a biblical source to get it. Where did they get it from?
That I don't know.
They stole it from us, from Sukkot.
Oh.
They took it from the holiday of Sukkot. It's a harvest holiday, right? It's a festival holiday. They took it from Sukkot. This is actually true. You can look this up. But it's amazing though. They're smart enough to leave out all the tough stuff and just take the good stuff, right? I'm sure they were looking through this and going, let's see here. It says you have to build a hut and live outside for 7 days. Nope, not doing that. What else you got? They take some weird branches and shake them around. I go, nope, leaving that out also. Not doing that. What else you got? Let's see. All that's left is really they just eat a lot. Let's do that. That's all we're going to be doing. Perfect. Yeah, they're smart. Yeah, that's what Thanksgiving turned into. By the way, Sukkot, if you look at it, that's really the only holiday we have. I think if you're trying to explain our holidays, that is impossible to explain to someone that isn't Jewish. Don't even bother, right? It's impossible. My friend Russell asks me, and he's not Jewish, so even the way he pronounces it, what's that holiday you have? Suck it, Sukkot, Russell. That's not how you say it. He gets them all wrong. He's like, is it like that other one? Shove it, Shavuot. Stop trying to pronounce our holidays. So, but he asked me, he goes, okay, well, whatever. As far as Sukkot goes, can you explain it to me? So I figured I would give it a shot, but I realized as I'm explaining it to him, I sound like a mental patient, right? He's like, well, give it a try. I'm like, okay, I'll give it a whirl. So I go, well, you build a hut, right? You're supposed to live in the hut, but nobody ever lives in the hut, right? And then you take a palm, a myrtle, and a willow, and a really expensive kind of lemon thing, and then you shake it all over the place. It's like, are you on medication or something? I'm like, no. He's like, well, how much is this lemon that isn't really a lemon? Well, some people pay a couple $100 for it, right? But I'm really smart. I only pay like 100. What do you do with it when you're done? Normally we just we throw it out, or we make jam with it. Is the jam good? No, it's awful every time. So doesn't really work out. And by the way, can we give a quick? I have to pause for 1 second. Can we give Rabbi Levi a round of applause for setting this thing up? It's not easy because I know this is my first show. It's not simple. And I have to say, big fan of Rabbi Levi and big fan of Chabad in general. I love Chabad. I'll tell you because Chabad, it's a very happy group. Right? They'll try to bring joy like they're doing today, right? They try to bring joy in everything. I realized this about Chabad. Chabad will look for any excuse to have a l'chaim, right? Any excuse whatsoever, they will find it. And the beauty of Chabad, right? Because Chabad has a very rich history, right? They've had how many Rebbe's? Rabbi Levi? Right, seven Rebbe's. So unless you are on the inside, right, and know the movement very well, right, there are these very obscure dates that happen throughout their history of Chabad that none of us really know about, but they know about it, right? Like, and it could be the most obscure thing, and that will be a reason for them to have a l'chaim and have a good time, right? It's like on this date in history, the Friedeker Rebbe sent a package in the mail and UPS, and then it got lost, and we found the tracking number, we got it. L'chaim was okay, whatever works for you.
Avi, we have one today. If
Oh,
anyone wants
what's
to join
today?
me for a l'chaim afterwards.
What's today?
Today is the yard site of the Rebbe's brother.
Of course, of course, we all knew that,
We'll
right?
do l'chaims after.
L'chaim, right? We have all vodka. No, I'm kidding. That's water. So it's big fan of Chabad. They'll like any reason to have l'chaim, they'll find it. And big fan. And also, I have to say, also I forgot to mention this about my heritage. Yeah, I was born in Israel. Did we bring this up?
No. Well, I mentioned it, but not really anything.
I'm a native Israeli, born there. It's round of applause. Who's been to Israel like in the past couple of years? Anybody? Yes. Oh, a bunch of us. Sorry. How did you get? Did anybody fly El Al? Yeah. Yes. Okay. Beniti flew El Al. Always a special treat. Is the rule the same? You have to get there. Is it 9 to 10 hours early? I think that's still the rule when you get to fly El Al.
Actually, it was a far more pleasant experience.
Yes.
However, they put out food. The other airlines feed you. El Al puts food out at the flight attendant stations, and you have to know about it.
Right,
we didn't know about it on the flight there.
That's last time I flew El Al.
On El Al.
I got there in plenty of time, right? So I'm seated. Next to me is a black hat, ultra-Orthodox Hasidic Jew. And next to him is the most secular Israeli girl on the planet. So take a guess what happens, right? He flips out. I'm not sitting next to a woman that isn't my wife, and I don't blame him, right? Because we have all different levels of observance in Judaism. We have, Reform through ultra-Orthodox and anything and everything in between. I blame? I blame the people at the ticket counter because they know perfectly well this is a religious man, and they're just having a ball with this. Let's see a black hat, ultra-Orthodox Hasidic Jew. Yeah, let's see you next to the girl in a bikini. Think that'll work out? There we go. Have a good flight, sucker. Right. So, in the end, I switched. I played the nice guy, right? I switched with him and took the middle seat. And he was actually a very nice man. And we start talking. And like everyone else, long flight, I fall asleep. And then what must have been, 4:35 in the morning, I'm getting elbowed by him. Let's go, Minion, back of the plane. Get up. We need you. Someone's saying Kaddish. We need you for a minute in the back of the plane. Have you put on Tefillin this morning? I'm like, it's 5 in the morning. No one's put on Tefillin. We need you for a minute right now. Like, this whole plane is Jewish. We specifically need you. Get up. Let's go. How was the service on the flight? Was it all right? Service was good?
It was spotty.
Yeah.
Spotty.
You remember the old days, right? Of the 70s and 80s? You remember the old days on El Al?
That was my first flight.
Oh, okay. Well, for those who took it in the early days, you can tell Benita what it used to be like. It's with the flight attendant pushing the cart of anger and hatred, hating her job. What do you want, chicken or beef? I'll take the beef. Well, I'll take the beef. It's like, why don't you even ask me that? It's just unbelievable. And they've actually gotten pretty professional, even with the announcements now, right? They'll tell you, the guys will get on there. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Flight 206 to Tel Aviv. I'll be your pilot today. I'm not used to that. Remember the old days? The guy get on there. Hello, I'm Yossi. I'm the boss of the plane. If you're sitting in coach, too bad for you. Make some more money next time. Get into business class. First class service. We have Ayelet. I'm dating her, so keep your hands off. Adult does how long a flight. It's not F-16. I do what I can. Okay, bye-bye. This whole announcement, unbelievable. So but I do enjoy coming to Israel, though. I do. Benita, where's your favorite place to go to in Israel? How are we running on time? I know
I love.
A little bit late. I'll take some questions. I'll wrap up with this, and then we can do some questions. Is that all right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Benita, where's your favorite place to go?
I love the Golan.
My mother lives there. Beautiful place, right?
I love the Golan. It's
beautiful.
beautiful.
I have to say, you almost feel obligated when you go to Israel, when you go to Jerusalem, you have to say the Western Wall, right? Love going to the Western Wall. And I do, right? I love going to the Kotel. And a friend of mine told me this recently because I'm single. He said, Avi, if you go to the Western Wall and pray there for 40 days in a row, you will find your beshert. You'll find your soulmate. So I'm a big skeptic. I made fun of him. I said, that's ridiculous, right? But to this guy's credit, he went 40 days in a row. And shortly thereafter, he divorced his wife and found his beshert. So it can happen. It's, so. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for having me here. I enjoyed this. I hope you did too. Anybody has any questions?
Yeah. So Avi, I have a question for you.
Yes, Rabbi.
So you do a lot of stage shows?
Which shows?
I said you do a lot of stage shows, correct?
Yes, yeah.
If a joke bombs, what's your go-to fix?
It's normally you just keep going, and hopefully you'll get the audience with something that will. That's you usually get to a point in your career. This is more serious talk, but it's sometimes environment matters. It's you can't control the environment sometimes. Like cruise ships are famous for horrible bombing stories. Like in my experience performing on cruise ships, I've just done it a couple times. They're either great or awful. There's very little in between. And it's sometimes they're setting up, there's nothing you can do. I had one show, it was me, 3 kids and 2 adults in a room that sat 300 people. Everybody was coming back from an excursion. Jerry Seinfeld's not going to do well in that situation. There's just nothing you can do. But one of my favorite stories about a bombing cruise ship situation, a friend of mine, when you're not doing well, you tend to speed up. You'll go much faster. And you can burn through your act very quickly. And you don't want to do that. So one time, a friend of mine, he's telling me, a friend of his, the one thing in comedy, which is a big no-no, is taking someone else's material. That's kind of an unwritten rule. You don't steal, you're not supposed to do it. Just don't do it. Unless they're extenuating circumstances, unless the person knows you or your buddies. So my friend Jack, he told me, he said, his friend calls him and said, Jack, I was performing on this cruise ship. It was just awful. So I burned through my whole act in about 3 minutes and I didn't know what to do. So I launched into your act. And Jack goes, well, how did I do? He goes, you bombed too, right? So those are situations, just we all have those bad shows, environment. People are, I do a lot of like Jewish events, a lot of Jewish banquets and fundraisers and things like that. And it's sometimes if the buffet is open, forget it. Jews and food, you're not going to win. It's just people are walking around making noise. So I always try to get them, please close the buffet. And if they close the buffet and they're focusing, it can usually be good. So it just depends. But yeah, the goal is to just kind of move forward. Hopefully you'll get them later, with something that'll work. So.
All right, two
I have a
things on my
question.
part. Hold on, Lori, 1 second. I just wanted to share one thing before questions, because I
Thank you.
mentioned in the intro about Comedy for Kobe. So if you don't mind sharing, first of all, what it is, and then who is Kobe, obviously. And then you have a question. Check the chat as well for questions as people ask.
I'll check the chat. So
first that question, because I mentioned it and I know you're very involved in that.
Yes, I'll read the chat in a second. Yeah, so Comedy for Kobe, basically, when things got really bad in Israel in like 2002, 2003, we decided to just bring a group of comedians there to just give everybody kind of a safe, fun night out. And it sort of morphed into, once the terrorism stopped, thank God, we now do the shows where I bring comedians and we perform for an organization called the Kobe Mandel Foundation. And so they work with children of trauma. If you've lost an immediate family member in either a terrorist attack, and now they've expanded it to any accident, they have a summer camp for kids, and it's like mental health and therapy and things like that. They have, to help children who've lost immediate family members in either a terrorist attack or accidents. And the shows, it's me and 3 other comedians. We go twice a year, and the shows, all the money from the gate benefits that camp twice a year. They also have grieving mothers groups throughout the year and all that kind of stuff. So it's called the Kobe Mandel Foundation. It's called Comedy for Kobe. And we were supposed to do it May 20 through 27. That's obviously not going to happen. So we're trying now to move it to August. Hopefully by then, everything in Israel should be cleared. Israel's supposed to open up, from what I hear, June 14. So hopefully by August, people will hopefully be back on their feet again, and we can, we'll adhere to whatever rules there are. But we can get it's tough too, because I know fundraising now is hard. We lost one of our fundraisers, one of our donors. And so we're trying to make up $5,000 now for the thing that we lost, to try to offset costs and all that. So that's kind of our goal now. That's the immediate between now and August, to try to make up those funds. But I know it's tough because no one's working. So it's hard. It's like a very difficult time to ask people for money. So, but it benefits him. And then we started in my little ulterior motive. These comedians come over. Most of the ones I bring are not Jewish, and they would never go to Israel otherwise. And they go there, experience what Israel really is, and come back, and they become like huge fans of the country. They dispel a lot of the myths that you see in the news, and they come back kind of, big fans of it. So that's my kind of little ulterior motive, for them to come back and be big fans of Israel. So it's worked so far. So
Nice.
I'm sorry, can I ask a question before you get into the chat?
sure.
Because I might have to get off. I have a friend whose son wants to get into scripted TV in LA.
Right.
Would you be a contact for him? Would you be
Sure.
willing to
I
talk
mean,
to him?
Yeah, I gravitated recently in the past few years more towards screenwriting, so I don't really deal with scripted too much. The friends of mine do. It's a common outlet for stand-up comedians to write on sitcoms and things like that. That's a very common, route that comedians will take. Which is also extremely competitive. That's just as hard as making it in TV in front of the camera. But I gravitated. I sold my first movie and optioned another one. So that's where I'm going. So I don't have as many contacts in there anymore. I'm not quite sure how much I could help, but yeah, I'm more than happy to touch base and say hello.
Okay. Can I get your email address from the rabbi, or can you?
Yeah, it's more than happy. Yeah, he can give it away. It's not a problem.
Okay, Rabbi. Thank you. I'm sorry to have interrupted.
No, not a problem. So, and I see a question here. Why do I think there's so many Jewish comedians? Or is this a coping mechanism for pain in your life? I hope that is not your case. Well, it depends on the day. But yes, I think the standard, they say the definition of comedy is tragedy plus time. That's what they say comedy is. Who's had more tragedy than us, right? The Jewish people, I think, have suffered more tragedy than anybody. So, and I think but it stems historically from the Yiddish theater that, that sort of morphed into the Catskills, like vaudeville and the Catskills. Those were all the Catskills was all Jews pretty much. And now it's obviously branched out more, but it was sort of a Jewish business. It came from that. It came from vaudeville, and it's morphed into that, and that's kind of where it stems from. But yeah, so if you do tragedy plus time, if that's the formula for stand-up, then we kind of fit the bill.
Barbara says it's because to counteract Jewish mothers.
I'm sure that's true also. Guilt and any tragedies, right? So yes, yeah.
Avi,
yes.
You talked a lot about the Jewish holidays, but you left out one of the most important Jewish holidays in the diaspora. I was born in South Africa.
Right, I can tell.
And went to Jewish day school. So we had a holiday there called Chalaboshes.
Well, I don't even know what that is. What is it?
It's a very important holiday because anytime you didn't want to do something, particularly with the non-Jewish teachers, you told them it was Chalaboshes. So you couldn't have homework, you couldn't go to class, you didn't have to have tests, anything. Most important holiday, Chalaboshes.
I should remember that one. Unfortunately, I went to Jewish day school. They would have figured that out in 5 seconds. Yeah.
No. The non-Jewish teachers never figured it out.
Right.
They were too embarrassed to ask.
Right. And tell me your name, sir. I'm going to play the odds. Basil. That's what every South African I've met is named. What's your name, sir?
Izzy.
Yeah. Actually, I make fun of, because I grew up in Houston, Texas. There's a big South African community there. And every time I talk to South African, it's always the same thing. It's the greatest place in the world, man. I'm telling you, once you go, you'll never want to leave. But none of them live there anymore. That's the amazing thing that I found about South Africans. So that's, yeah.
They've moved.
Brag about it, but none of them live there. So yeah, so amazing.
Thanks.
So any other questions? Let me just, why don't there's, Comedy for Kobe. Yes, that's a good question. It's KOBY. Comedy for KOBY. And the Kobe Mandel Foundation is KOBY MANDELL. So if you just go to Kobe, if you guys want to make a donation, I don't care what it is, $1, $2, doesn't make a difference. But if you wanted to help out that organization, it's and just put towards the comedy show, whatever you want, that would be a massive help. So if you want to do that, that could be a nice thing. Any other questions?
Another question. Does anyone else in your family have a natural great sense of humor?
Oh, thank you. I would say I get it from my dad. My dad has a pretty good sense of humor. That's even my brother does too, but he's kind of more artsy fartsy. He's a music guy. He edits music for television and film. So that's it all comes from that. English. Any other questions here? Did I know Gary Shanley? He was my cousin. Oh, I met Gary Shanley once. He was Gary Shanley actually was noted as being one of the nicest guys in the world, and as far as comedy goes. And they used to. My friend Wayne Fetterman, who's a comedian, I've taken him to Israel, I think 3 times on the tour. Gary Shanley was famous for having a basketball game. I think it was like every weekend or something at his house on Sundays. And it was like just for the comics. So a lot of comics and industry people. But yeah, he was noted to be, it's not only a great comedian, but a huge mensch and a really nice guy. And so, yeah, it's a great, great comic.
I had, I see Myra, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm mixed up on the Kobe thing. Could you please write it down? Because I keep on trying to write and listen to you at the same time.
Yeah, if you go to Kobe Mandel, KOBY, Mandel.org.
I put it in the chat, Myra. You can check it out in the chat.
Thank you, Rabbi.
2 L's actually, Rabbi.
Oh, never mind. I didn't put it in the
Spell
chat.
error.
Avi, question for you that came to me privately. Do you ever find anti-Semitism affects you in Hollywood? Or I should say in general in your career?
You know what? Only from other Jews, oddly enough. So it's Hollywood was founded by Jews who were trying to show how Protestant they could be. You know, so there's still some of that. I remember for my very first agent, like I didn't want to go to an audition. It was the second day of Pesach. I still remember like it was yesterday. And he's yelling at me. It's ridiculous, you know, and he's Jewish. It's, you know, so Hollywood is filled with a lot of Jews who are, you know, I call them BLJs. That's my nickname. My friends laugh at that. They're bagels and lox Jews. You know, I'm Jewish. I like bagels and lox. And it kind of stops there. That's, you know, they're, I don't want to say there's an embarrassment, but they don't really do much when it comes to the Judaism part. I think that's changing a little bit. You know, but it's the only anti-Semitism I've ever experienced has been from other Jews. It's, you know, in Hollywood. So it's because there's this, you know, you got to look at the history. You know, people try to ignore history, but you can't. You know, you got to be honest. That's, you know, that's what it is. So it's, yeah, not too bad though. I think there's some sense where it can help you and some sense where it hurts.
I had a question.
Stan.
Yeah, the question I had is, did you ever play to an audience? I used to MC when I was at college. Did you ever play to an audience where somebody is kind of, you're not getting any result and work to make, I used to try and work to see if I can get that one person to laugh.
Yeah, there's a thing though, like where comics will, there's a tragic sense of, you know, the career choice you've made. So I think that instinctively you're always looking at that one guy who's not laughing and what's going on. But I've learned over the years that, you know, just kind of focus on the people who are enjoying themselves. There's some people who just go in with arms folded and they're in a bad mood. There's nothing you can really do. You know, so I'll just try to ignore that person. You know, if you're in a room with hundreds of people and 298 of them are laughing, that's, you know, it'll usually overshadow the one or two that are grumps anyway. But for some reason, it's true though. It always seems like the one guy who's not having a good time is right in the front. And I don't know why that is, but you couldn't sit that guy in the back. But yeah, for some reason, that always tends to be the case. So.
All right, last question that I got is when did you realize this was going to be your career?
When I flunked out of med school and law school. That was the only other option. No, I'm teasing. You know, I was always interested in it. I think by my senior year in college, I began to take theater courses and I began to watch stand-up, I would say, is when my junior year in college more analytically. Instead of like watching it and laughing at it, I would watch and go, oh, I understand why that's fun. It's, you know, so I would say by my junior year, I knew this is something that I wanted to pursue. And then I got to LA, I kind of got lucky. I got a part in a TV show, just like a guest starring thing. It's like my first year out here. And so I realized I could play in that league and be successful. And it's just getting opportunities is very hard. That's the hard part, just getting in the door for things. But it's in the entertainment world, it evolves. I think like most jobs, you know, you can start as an attorney and you'll end up doing, you know, real estate law and find yourself doing something completely different, you know, 10 or 15 years down the line. So that happens in entertainment as well.
Nice. Any last questions from anyone here? If you want to unmute your mic.
Where are you right now?
Los Angeles, based in LA.
Myra, you didn't see? He's wearing pajama pants.
Yes, yeah.
No, stand
Believe it or
up.
not, I'm actually fully clothed. Yeah.
Stand up.
That's what? I gotta prove it now? Yeah, you wouldn't be able to.
Stand up.
And I have shorts on, so yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Myra.
Well, we know where Myra's mind is, at least now, so all right.
I'm all alone.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah.
I have a question. Would you happen to know Joe Lazarov?
Joe Lazarov? I don't think so. Joe Lazaro?
Lazarov.
Lazarov. No, I don't think, doesn't ring a bell. I might by face, but I don't know, it doesn't ring a bell.
Thanks.
Jewish geography, yeah.
Yeah.
Benita, you had a question?
Well, not a question, but just when you were talking about your high school sports, my husband grew up in Montreal and he was the goalie on the high school hockey team. And he said, he still talks about it, how the Catholic schools would circle the date on the calendar that they got to play the Jews. And what is it that the other coach would say?
I don't know if I can say that.
Well, the coaches of the other team, you know, he was always the last one out of the dressing room.
The goalie was always the last one out of the dressing room. Had to make sure that everything was done. And as one of the games I passed by and I hear the other coach exhorting the troops in his room before they take to the ice. And the last thing he said in French was, he said, "Remember, those guys killed Christ."
Yeah. Thank God those days are over. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Oddly enough, the school that I went to,
They're not over in Montreal.
it's a stereotype. A lot of the Jewish teams, we have just as many great Jewish athletes nowadays as anybody else. So
My son, I have to say, was a professional baseball player.
Oh, really? Oh, that's impressive.
Yeah, he was in the minor leagues in the San Francisco Giants. So there are Jews.
Hey, look, I grew up in Houston. Alex Bregman is one of the best players in the league. He's a nice Jewish.
Exactly.
So
exactly. And so there are Jewish athletes. They're few and far between.
Yeah. Well, percentage-wise, I think we do okay, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not bad.
Send it Kovacs.
Actually, there's sometime we get revenge.
They're better off being owners.
Yeah, that's true. We do a much better job there. So
yes.
You guys are bored.
So, all right. Well, Rabbi, thanks for having me. If any last thing you want to.
No, I just want to say thank you very much. I know that everyone appreciated your time, and we appreciate your time. And again, if anyone wanted to check out that charity that he does comedy for, it's the kobemandel.org. The website is in the chat. And I wanted to thank everyone for joining. Tomorrow we have a dermatologist, Dr. Randy Rubenzik, 12:30. Hope everyone will join. But again, Avi, thank you so much.
He's way funnier than me, so don't worry about it.
It's a she, and hopefully it's not funny.
Yes, of course, yeah.
But thank you all for joining, and thank you, Avi, for your definitely fun and funny presentation.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad you guys enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Take care, guys. Have a great week, and Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom.
Bye-bye.